two things I feel like I need to start off with before we get started. Number one, this review will contain spoilers. I gave you guys 4 days for y'all to go and see this movie. And if you still haven't seen it after 4 days, we're starting to have the conversation about it right now. So I need you to go and see it. The second thing is, if you are the type of person that is easily offended, continue watching this video because you'll probably be offended, but you need to learn. What is going on, everybody? I go by the name of Kari, and I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on SneakerPhetish. Now, today we're doing another movie review. As you can see in the title, we are talking about Black Panther. You've probably already seen reviews that give you kind of the backstory about the film, and that's not really what we're here to talk about today. I want to get a little bit deeper and talk about why this film is so important, especially for people of color. However, if you've been under a rock and you haven't seen any reviews and you haven't seen anybody else talk about the movie, then I will give you the quick rundown. There's a fictional country in Africa that goes by the name of Wakanda. A little over 5 centuries ago, 5 African tribes fought for the right to a meteorite that contained a foreign metal that was known as vibranium. Vibranium is the main ingredient that is used to develop the most sophisticated technology known to man in this country of Wakanda. During this battle, a warrior takes in what's called a heart-shaped herb. That is the little purple glowing herb that you see throughout the film. He ingests that along with the vibranium, and he gains superpowers and becomes the Black Panther. As the Black Panther, he unites all but one of the tribes that chooses to stay on their own side of the country in a cold and desolate part of the country, whereas the other united tribes are in a warm and more productive part of the country. Fast forward to 1992, and the current king of Wakanda named T'Chaka and his brother N'Jobu go to Oakland, California on a secret mission, and while there, Prince N'Jobu is convinced that they need to take the vibranium and put it into different weapons and share it with the rest of the world so that people that have oppressed our people, African people, African people for thousands and thousands of years, we can now rise up against them and we can take over the world and we can take over everything because the vibranium is so powerful that it can create weapons that no one in the world has ever seen before, and we can easily overthrow any governments or any oppressors of African or African American people. Well, Prince T'Chaka disagrees with this, and during this dispute, there's a third person that's there who goes by the name of Zuri, who's played by Forrest Whitaker. Zuri comes and steps in and says, "Nope, I agree, I don't want to do this." So Prince N'Jobu tries to attack Zuri. When he tries to attack Zuri, Prince T'Chaka, his brother, kills Prince N'Jobu. So in other words, Prince T'Chaka kills his own brother, who's Prince N'Jobu, as a means of saving Zuri's life and protecting Wakanda. Before he died, Prince N'Jobu gave birth to a son. This son's name is N'Jadaka, that's his Wakandan name, and his American name is Eric Stevens. This character is played by Michael B. Jordan. Eric Stevens then grows up to become a highly sophisticated, highly trained, highly patient military warrior that goes all around the world and rises to the top of his ranks and fights in some of the most elite secret ops classes of people, and basically kills people a lot, and he goes by the name Killmonger. So Killmonger is left in the United States while everybody else goes back to Africa, and basically the King T'Chaka, who is T'Challa or Black Panther as we know him, Chadwick Boseman's character, his father, they just all swear to secrecy that nobody's gonna mention anything about this son that they left in the United States. Now, fast forward to 2016, if you guys are familiar with the Marvel Universe, then you know that King T'Chaka was then killed in an explosion. We won't get too deep into the comic book culture, but if you're familiar with Helmet Zero, then you know the backstory about that. Everything has a backstory. As a result of his father's death, T'Challa then goes back to Wakanda in order to assume his rightful throne. Now, let me backtrack a little bit. In 1992, when Prince N'Jobu was trying to introduce vibranium to the rest of the world, he enlisted the help of a black arms dealer that goes by the name of Ulysses Claw. That's important to know. T'Challa is ready to take over the throne while still processing and dealing with his father's death. Now, before he does that, he has an ex-lover that he really wants to reunite with, who's played by Lupita Nyong'o, or as she is known in this movie, Nakia. His first order of business before he even assumes the throne is to get his lady back on his side, and he does this with the help of the leader of the all-female army. This army is known as the Dora Milaje, and it is led by a warrior named Okoye, played by Danai Gurira. Now, Okoye is loyal to a fault. As we learn throughout this movie, she is loyal to the country of Wakanda before she is loyal to any one person. That comes to bite her back in the behind, but we'll get to that in just a second. So Nakia is a spy. So the first order of business is that they have to go and get Nakia out of an undercover assignment that she's currently on. So they go deep into the jungle in Nigeria and they go and get her out and they rescue all the people. It's a beautiful thing. Now it's customary for each tribe in Wakanda to have the opportunity to take the throne away from the incoming king by challenging him to a ritual fight. Each of the tribes, except for one, declines to try to fight Prince T'Challa for the throne. The exception to this is the leader of the Jabari tribe, which is led by a warrior named M'Baku. M'Baku fights T'Challa and loses. T'Challa then takes over the rightful throne as the new king of Wakanda. So that's like a whole story within itself. Remember I told you guys about Ulysses Claw, the black arms dealer that tried to get the vibranium from Prince Njobu before he got killed? He comes back. And this time, he stole an ancient Wakandian artifact that he is selling to a different dealer in South Korea. Now, Prince T'Challa has a best friend, a close confidant that's pretty much been by his side ever since they were young, and he goes by the name of Wakabi. Now, he is played by Daniel Kaluuya, or as you may know him as, the black guy from Get Out. Now, here's the thing about Wakabi. He's bloodthirsty, and he's really bloodthirsty against this Claw guy because Claw actually killed his parents when he was younger. So as soon as he has the opportunity to get him, he wants to get him because he feels that that's somewhere that Prince T'Chaka, Prince T'Challa's father, has failed before. Prince T'Challa, Okoye, and Nakia all go to South Korea on a secret mission to find this guy and bring him down. There's a CIA agent there named Everett Ross who Prince T'Challa tries to get him to give Claw to him. Agent Ross says, nope, I'd rather have Claw to myself. A big fight ensues and they end up taking Claw into custody. Prince T'Challa then goes with Agent Ross to go and interrogate him, and during the interrogation, Killmonger blows a piece of the wall away, rescues Claw, takes him out, and now they're working together. However, that doesn't last for long because Killmonger is trying to use Claw to get to Wakanda. They have words back and forth. Killmonger ends up, surprise, surprise, killing Claw. Killmonger knows that the original plan was for T'Challa to bring Claw back to Wakanda. He does not do that, but instead brings the CIA agent with him to Wakanda because they feel like they can use him for, you know, informational purposes and things of that nature. So in order to be taken more seriously, Killmonger then takes the body of Claw himself to Wakanda and drops it off kind of as a means to getting to see the king, or his cousin, however you want to look at it. He then makes it known that he wants to take over as king of Wakanda and start a new day in Wakanda where he wants to use all of the vibranium and immediately give it out to the world, continuing the work of his father. Because Killmonger is technically of royal blood and of royal lineage, being T'Challa's cousin, he challenges T'Challa to the same sort of ritual fight that M'Baku lost against when T'Challa first got the throne. T'Challa accepts the challenge and loses to Killmonger. Now at this point, we actually think that Killmonger has killed T'Challa, but we learn later on that he actually has not killed him, but M'Baku from the Jabari tribe that he defeated actually came and rescued him, and they're saving his life. During this time that people think that T'Challa is dead, basically all hell breaks loose. He's got T'Challa out of the way, so now he's getting everybody ready to go and send vibranium out all over the world and everything, and just in the nick of time, the women, headed by the Queen Mother, who is played by Angela Bassett, she plays T'Challa's mother, Okoye, and Nakia, all go with Agent Ross over to the cold side of the country where they find Prince T'Challa. They bring him back to life. T'Challa comes back. He tries to assume his role again. A huge fight breaks out. And in the end, T'Challa ends up killing Killmonger. As Killmonger is dying though, one of his dying wishes was that his father always told him about how beautiful the sunsets were in Africa and he wanted to see it. So T'Challa gives him two choices. I can heal you, or I'll take you to see the last sunset and then you can die after you see the last sunset. Well, he would rather die and be free than to live and to be in bondage, which is a really important concept when you look at slavery and you look at how many slaves actually killed themselves on their way to America that did not make it over to this land because they felt the exact same way. They would rather die and be free than to be in bondage and alive. This movie touches on a lot of spiritual ancestry and a lot of current geopolitical ideas that just make this movie have so much more depth to it. So I skipped over a lot of details of the movie because I really just wanted to give you guys a 10,000 30,000-foot view of what the movie was about. Now again, there's a lot more fighting, there's a lot more storyline, there's a lot more details, and a lot of movie reviews are gonna give you guys all those details. I'm not here to give you all those details today because I'm here to talk about the lessons learned and why this movie is so important for African Americans. Number one, men are nothing without strong women to back them up. Let me tell you guys something. This movie is all about the women. Yes, it's about Prince T'Challa. Yes, it's about the Black Panther. Yes, it's a superhero movie. But at the end of the day, this has to do with the ingenuity and the resilience and the dedication and the determination and the grit of the women that supported Prince T'Challa and all the other men of Wakanda in this movie. Prince T'Challa has a little sister named Shuri who is one of the brightest and most ingenious technological minds that this world has ever seen before. And had it not been for her creation of the Black Panther suit and all of its abilities to absorb energy and then to redistribute it, for it to be bulletproof and things of that nature, there's no way that the Black Panther would even be as powerful as he is. In such a time as this, where women in technology and women being engineers and women being owners and bosses and business women is so rampant and it's so relevant, it just makes sense to incorporate that into this story. Lesson number two, family will betray you. Be careful of the people that you trust, even if they are your own family, because family has secrets and family will betray you. Not only will family betray you, but family will also lie to you. There's a very emotional piece of this movie where Prince T'Challa actually goes into a vision sequence or a journey and he sees his father. It's when he's about to die and he sees all of his ancestors and he sees his father, and they're telling him to come and join him on that side of life. And he says he can't do that because he still has work that needs to be done. And then he confronts his father and he asked him, how come you didn't tell me about Killmonger? How come you didn't tell me about what happened when you killed your brother? And he said, you know, that's a truth that I chose to omit. You know, in all these years, his father had lied to him. It's crazy when you really think about it, but how applicable is that to our lives today? We have family that'll lie to us, that'll tell us half truths in order for us to do the things that they want us to do. Do your own research and find out your own truths rather than things that have just been told to you, because when you find out the truth, they might affect the outcome of the decisions that you're making. Which leads me into my third lesson that I got from this movie, which is, especially in African culture and sometimes in African American culture, there's a lot of continuing generational ideologies and practices down the line. And this movie tells you, you don't have to do that. You can be your own person. There's a really touching scene where Nakia is talking to T'Challa and they're sitting on a mountaintop. Basically, she tells him, what kind of king do you want to be? Be the kind of king that you want to be, not the kind of king that your father wanted you to be or that anybody else wants to be. You have to find your own path. And I think that's so important when we're dealing with the pressures of our family or the expectations of other people, that they want us to be something that we don't want to be, and yet we still walk down that path because we're trying to please people. This movie tells you, don't please anybody. Please yourself first, and then let everybody else follow after your example. We also see that again with Nakia, because Nakia actually ends up confronting Okoye because they have differing views. Okoye is willing to be loyal to Killmonger because throughout the generations, that's always been the case. Her army has always been loyal to the current king. And Nakia begs to differ. And Nakia is actually able to convince Okoye to come over to her side and to fight against their current king in order to put T'Challa back in power. Now, the fourth lesson that I took away from this is that as opposed to a lot of other superheroes that may have alter egos or other lives that they lead, the other lives of certain superheroes really tends to be a little bit more under the radar. They're not as powerful. They don't have literally two different lives. Usually both of their lives don't contain the same level of responsibility. However, in Prince T'Challa's case, it is, guys, we have a superhero that is also the king of a nation in Africa. Wakanda prides itself on masking itself as a third world country so that people don't understand the technology and the power that it truly possesses, so that nobody tries to distribute that power to the world. They try to keep it all contained within themselves. They build their own things, they grow their own food. They are a completely self-sustaining country, and they want to keep it that way by keeping their true identity under wraps. So Prince T'Challa already has to deal with the fact that he's trying to keep everything a secret while at the same time being the Black Panther and fighting crime. And how many times have we seen in real life where we have to do more than our counterparts? I hate to say it like that, but it's a sad truth in today's society. It's called the Red Queen's race. If you've never heard of it, I'll link something down below that tells you a little bit more about it. But it's the idea that you have to run twice as fast just to get half as far as our European brothers and sisters. It's just real. However, with the right resources and the right people and the right support team around you, you can still get it done. Because what we see in this movie is that with everything that T'Challa is dealing with emotionally, physically, and in a regal sense, where he's trying to deal with actually taking over the throne and being a king of this country, he does it all. And he does it because he has a good team, but also because he has a strength deep within himself that is able to sustain that. And I think that's very relevant as an African American, that we have the strength and the power and the resources to rise above a lot of the difficulties that we face on a daily basis as well. My fifth lesson that I got from this movie really leads me into the point of why this movie is so important for African Americans, and honestly, a lot of why this movie was so ridiculously successful. We're in a society right now that really kind of demonizes African Americans in the media and really depicts us as inferior, as uneducated, as weak intelligently, or overly aggressive and violent. This movie was a much needed pride boost, in my opinion, to showcase a superhero that is educated, that is articulate, that is well equipped, that is technologically advanced, and that is resilient. And to do that with a character from Africa, with people from Africa, against this beautiful backdrop of Africa, to me is exactly what we needed to see right now in a time where people look at Africa only as a third world country, and people really think that Africa is just this dirty, horrible place, when Africa is actually one of the most beautiful places on the face of the planet. I've never personally been to Africa, but I hope that one day I actually get to visit the motherland myself. But to watch this movie, it's so beautifully done. The costumes are beautiful. Everything about this movie is top notch. They spared no expense and they spared no detail. When you really look at I can't wait for the movie to come out on Blu-ray so I can watch it in 4K and I can really get the detail of this movie and of these costumes. The costume designer was amazing. The music was incredible. I was reading that they actually had people go to South Africa and actually get the music that is directly from the different tribes and the different places in Africa, and they use that kind of as the overall soundtrack. Not to mention the dope soundtrack that was curated by Kendrick Lamar and Top Dog Entertainment as well. But all of that combined just gave us this beautiful masterpiece of a movie, and I'm calling it a masterpiece. Which brings me to the genius that is the director of this movie, Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler is a 31-year-old director that's only done 3 movies in his career, and all of them were massive successes. Fruitvale Station, that had Michael B. Jordan in it, Creed, that starred Michael B. Jordan, and the Black Panther, that co-starred Michael B. Jordan. I'm guessing that him and Michael B. Jordan have a pretty good relationship. Fun fact, Michael B. Jordan and me have the same middle name, which is Bakari, which is where Kari comes from. But here's the incredible thing about this movie. If I had to critique the movie in any kind of a way, I can say that at parts the movie might have felt like it, I don't know, maybe dragged a little bit or was a bit predictable. Like for instance, when Prince T'Challa got thrown over the waterfall after he lost his fight with Killmonger, we all knew it was only halfway through the movie and clearly something was going to happen for Prince T'Challa to come back to life. It's pretty predictable. But the movie is so well acted, you really didn't care about that part because the story is so engrossing, it actually diverted your attention away from T'Challa, away from the main character. Not only that, you have a villain in this movie who is Killmonger, who's so layered and so hurt. He's dealing with deep pain, and we see him go on his own journey where he gets to speak to his own father about what happened and about his feelings of abandonment and about how this world took everything from him, and so he just wants to get retribution and take everything from everybody else because the things that he's loved have been taken away from him. You literally almost find yourself rooting for the villain. I found myself almost rooting for Killmonger, like, man, maybe we should just let him win this fight. Maybe we should just let him have this victory because he's going through a lot. And then you gotta snap back out of it and be like, nah, wait a minute, nah, Black Panther. The movie is so well acted that even the predictable parts were watchable because you were so engrossed in the story. Personally, the only issue that I have with this movie is that it's too short. And I know for a movie that's over 2 hours long, to say that the movie is too short sounds crazy, but honestly, this could have been probably about 2 hours and 30, 2 hours and 45 minutes, and I wouldn't have been mad at all. I heard that the first cut of the movie was about 4 hours long. That's a little bit long. I don't think I want to sit in the movie for no 4 hours, but I would have easily given them another 30 to 45 minutes of my time for them to flesh that story out even more than it was. This movie proves two big things in my opinion. Number one, it proves the genius of Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler was able to get an entire audience of people who usually aren't into fantasy, usually aren't into comic books, usually aren't into superhero movies to come to the theater and escape into a fantasy world, because the fantasy world that he created was so beautiful and gave us so much pride. We almost forgot that we were watching a superhero movie. It just felt like a movie about African people, about beautiful African people that were in Africa, that were self-sustaining and successful. It was a visual representation of what we are trying to achieve to this very day, which is to sustain ourselves and to really not need anybody for anything. So to be able to depict that on a wide screen, I think is why so many people have rushed in. And you guys have seen it everywhere. People are going in dashikis, African garb, African outfits. People have African drummers that are at the movie screenings. Myself and my partner J-Rock actually sponsored a movie screening where we bought out an entire auditorium and we brought the Boys and Girls Club in because we wanted as many of our people to see this movie and to see this imagery, this regality on camera as humanly possible. The second big takeaway from this movie is that there are a lot of people that feel like black people are automatically prejudiced against white people, and that is not the case. In this movie, there are white people that are brought into the fold, like Agent Ross, right? And we needed Agent Ross. Agent Ross actually had a vital part of the film. They gave him a simulated warship that actually helped clear the air of all the other warships because he was classically trained as an Air Force pilot, and they utilized those skills during the big war scene. Even though this is a movie about blackness and black power, and you guys see people going in their African garb, we are not prejudiced. You know, we want people of all races and creeds and colors and nationalities to be included in this experience, so much so that even in the movie, one of the people that helped Wakanda and that helped the people of Wakanda was a white man. They might have called him colonizer, but at the same time, he was welcomed into the fold. Not only that, but if you guys actually stayed after the movie for the hidden scene, there were two hidden scenes after the movie, and in one of the hidden scenes, we actually see Bucky, that we saw from the Captain America movies, healed by Shuri, T'Challa's little sister. And it looks like he'll be making a comeback in the new Avengers movie. I was reading some comments on my Facebook page, and somebody said, oh, it looks like this movie, you're gonna have to leave all the white kids at home, and the white people aren't allowed in this movie. And that to me is so ridiculous. That is totally against what this movie is promoting. This movie is promoting unification, is promoting dialogue, it is promoting inclusion for people. However, what it's also demanding is respect. And in this movie, the people that look like us are finally treated with the respect that they deserve. And in Hollywood, where we're constantly depicted as thugs or drug dealers or people that are doing wrong stuff, to be depicted in a movie that is powerful and regal and royal makes us feel good. It does something to us internally. And that is why Black Panther is so important to black people. Black Panther is important to two different groups of black people. It's important to the kids and it's important to the older folks. It's important to the kids because the kids care about Marvel. They care about the superheroes. They care about that. And all the superheroes that they look up to right now don't look like that. There's a piece of that world that unfortunately they can't identify with. However, for Black Panther, they finally have a superhero that's the lead of a movie, that's not in a supporting role, that's not the comic relief, that looks like them. And it's somebody that's going out there and fighting and saving the world. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Now, Black Panther is also important for the older generation because they, like I said, are able to get that African pride. Some of our people are from Africa. Some of our older folks have more ties to Africa than we do. Some of them have traveled to Africa. And so to be able to see us and a lot of people that look like us, all the extras, all the scenery, all the background that's just lush and beautiful and verdant. The imagery and the cinematography of this film are so gorgeous. You just want to watch it again just to be able to get those large, beautiful shots. This movie was important for us. This is a piece of Black history. This is a milestone in our progression. This is a milestone for an African-American director. You know, this is a milestone for a 98% Black cast. This is a milestone for Tyler Perry. For those of you guys who don't know, a lot of this movie was shot in Atlanta at Tyler Perry Studios. This movie gave us a breather from all of that. It gave us a breather from the news and the media. It gave us a breather from the way that we've been told that we look and the things that we're told that we're only good for. And it brought us back to ourselves. This movie increased the self-esteem of Black people. And that's why this movie is so important to us. So, If you guys think that we're doing the most with our African garb, or you think that we're doing the most with our hand gestures or our movements or our support of this film or us going back to see it 2, 3, 4 times, then you obviously don't understand how important this is to us. But that's okay. You don't have to understand how important it is to us because we understand how important it is to us. We don't need the approval of other people in order for us to be a successful people. And I think this movie brought us back to that. It's an incredible movie. Go and see Black Panther if you have not seen it yet. Sound off below with all of your comments. Do you agree with my thoughts on the movie? Do you agree with the lessons I took away from the movie? What would you like to add about what you got away from the movie? Let's dialogue a little bit. What did you get out of the movie? What did you walk away from the movie feeling? Did you like the movie? Did you not like the movie? And for what reason? Again, I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on Sneaker Fetish. I go by the name of Kari, and until next time, I'm out.